Good morning, everybody. I'm here in the shop with a new project for you, and it is a mini bike. This is a Heathkit Hiltopper, I believe. Let me grab my little cheat sheet here. Okay, so this is a full suspension mini bike. The drivetrain is not original. That's a Honda 160 overhead cam. It appears that these things had, let me go ahead and read to you what this thing is. So, new Heathkit Hiltopper, the gutsy super trail bike that rides and handles like a street machine. Telescoping fork and adjustable shocks smooth the roughest terrain. 5 horsepower 4-cycle Tecumseh engine and load sensing variable torque converter give low speed pulling power over 35 mile per hour dash speeds at a twist of the throttle. Beefy 18x8.5 8x8 rear tire really digs in, and 2-wheel brakes stop you right now. Fold down handlebars, collapsing foot pegs, crash bars, built-in alternator and spark arrestor muffler are standard. Assembled in 2 or 3 evenings. Order your GT101 Heathkit Hiltopper kit now. The kit was $299. That was a lot. This is 1970. You could also get a ski accessory for the front, so you could put a ski on the front for $19.95, and you could add a running light or running lights, which is a headlight and a tail light, for $19.95. So this is a really cool vintage mini bike. I really love vintage mini bikes. I think they're super neat. This one was $300 back in 1970, so that's got to be top of the line, one of the top of the line ones, and it's a big one. It's not a little mini bike at all. It's got that big tire in the rear. I mean, I just think it's super cool. It's got these Nerf bars. It's still got the paint on the fenders with the pinstriping. It's got these goofy handlebars, but they're kind of cool. It's got this brake light switch built into the handlebar. So I'm guessing that this one had, or maybe, yeah, it must have had, well, maybe not. Anyways, tail light. It's got some wiring for the tail light. So it probably had the headlight and the tail light. But what I'm going to do with this thing is I'm just going to see if I can get it running with what we got. So we got this Honda 160 overhead cam motor on it. It's got a tank on it right here. These bikes had a tank right here. But what I'm going to do, and I think they had a jack shaft. So I think it had torque converter, jack shaft, and I think the sprocket was actually on the other side. But we're just going to see if I have the parts. I think there's a chance that I have the parts all here to get this thing running and riding, hopefully today, if this engine works. If not, we'll consider other options for that. But we're going to try and get it running and riding with this engine, and then if we can do all that and get it done, you know, maybe we'll do a second episode where we make it better. But I mean, this thing is really cool. Front and rear suspension, front and rear brakes. This brake should have been on the other side. Oh, it doesn't even have the rear brake. That's a bummer. Where's the rear brake for this thing? Okay, so all we got is a front brake apparently. So we might have to do something with that in the future. But you know, it's kind of original, and then obviously it's missing some stuff. I don't know if that's the original rear wheel, because there should have been some provisions for a brake. But we do have a front brake. That's, you know, that's pretty rare on a mini bike to have a front brake. I didn't even realize it didn't have anything for the rear brake at all. I don't know if that's the original wheel or not. I believe the brake should have been on this side, sprocket on that side, jack shaft, but we're just going to try and get it going and riding as it is, and let's see if we can do that. So let's start digging through parts and see if I can find enough to make this thing go. Alright, so I think the first thing we should do is we should see if this motor is even viable, you know, if it's going to run or not. I have no idea. I know I did pull it over, yeah, it's free. Oh, and it has good compression. So, yeah, we got good compression. Let's see if there's anything in this tank. There is a little bit of something in there, which is not good. It smells not great. So I think let's pop the air cleaner off. Let's get some starting fluid. Let's see if we can get this thing to fire. If not, then we'll check for spark. And and if it does fire, we'll put fuel in it. We'll go through the steps to make this happen. Ooh, air boxes. Oh. That is soaked in oil for some reason, but that could have been because this thing was outside or something. Let's check for oil. Let's make sure this thing has oil in it. Okay, so we need to throw some oil in it. We'll throw a little bit of oil in there. I'm thinking maybe this thing was sitting on its side at some point. I'm going to go ahead and say this thing is pretty much empty on oil. It must have just, I think when I got it from the guy, it was sitting on its side, and it just emptied the oil out into the air box. Let's go ahead, give it a spritz. Wow, okay. Let's put some gas in it, because it's pretty much empty. So let's go ahead and put some gas in this thing. Let's see what happens here. Alright, give her a splash. That should be enough. Alright, let's try it again. So let's choke off. Oh, I mean, it runs. Let's put this back on. This fires right up. That's a success on that front. It's still got the governor all hooked up to it, so we might have to figure out some sort of linkage to bypass that, because there's no kind of throttle linkage at the moment, and our throttle cable is not looking too hot. I don't even see a cable in there, so we have some hurdles to overcome, but that is a big one. Alright, so we got to consider what is the next hurdle to overcome here. Is this thing fully bolted down? Kind of. It's got 2 bolts in it. We got to figure out the drivetrain, I think, from this point. So I want to try and put a torque converter on this. We'll see if I have the parts to do that. I'm going to go grab all that stuff right now, and we're going to see if we can fit up a torque converter to this thing. I got this shaft here that looks like 3/4. So this is my box of clutch/torque converter parts. So we're gonna see. I'd like to run a torque converter on this, especially since that's what it had from the factory. Let's see if that's even gonna be possible at all. Decision. All right. So does this have a weird size shaft? This is the weirdest thing. So this is like a 7/8 shaft. So I can't do anything with this with that size shaft. I mean, I don't have anything. These things come in, torque converters are generally 3/4 or 1 inch. So this is a 3/4 or smaller. You got your 5/8. This one's a 3/4. This clutch is a 5/8. Yeah. So that's a bummer. But, you know, we can't run a torque converter with this engine anyways. I mean, we might be able to if we raise it up. I mean, I think we probably could, okay, if we raise this thing up. But we can't do anything with this because it's got the wrong size shaft on it. And there's not much we can do about that. Alright, so I guess we're going to pull this thing off, and I got to consider what engine we're going to run, because we definitely want to get this mini bike going. A 212 or something like that was where we were going to go eventually. Alright, this is the decision that I've made right here. Predator 224. So, I don't know, I thought maybe I might revive this old engine that's been sitting on the shelf, but it's got a 5/8 shaft, not a 3/4 shaft. And it's been abused, and it doesn't seem to have a lot of compression, but that could just be because it's sitting for a long time. But, this is the way we're going to go. We're going to get this 224, brand new 224 out of here. We're going to get it mocked up here. I got a new torque converter coming because I actually am missing one part to make that box of torque converter parts into an actual torque converter. So, yeah, that's the way we're going. New torque converter, new 224. I got to figure out if I have enough chain to make this work. I got to make sure that this is the right kind of chain. I don't know if it's 40, 41, 420. But I got to make sure I got enough chain for that. I'm going to have to order a tire at some point because this one's super dry rotted. But it's okay for now. Yeah, that's the plan. Let's get this engine mocked up in here. Alright, so there's not a ton I can do until I get the torque converter in. We're going to run stock intake and stock exhaust on this for now. We're just going to try and get this thing going. My original plan was to get this thing going with stuff I just had laying around. That's obviously completely changed. Now we're spending some money, which is fine. But what I'm going to do, one thing, this little box right here is getting in the way of the torque converter. So that's got to come off of there. First, and then I'm going to cut this thing open. I'm going to do the safe thing, and I'm going to pull the governor out of here, and I'm going to basically prep this thing for running a mini bike, which is also disconnecting the low oil sensor, so I'll probably just snip that wire there. I didn't want to turn this video into a governor removal video. It's long enough as it is, so there's tons of information out there on how to remove a governor. We're just going to move on and start getting this thing installed on the bike. Alright, I really hate to do this, but this thing is never going back to factory. Like, I'm not going to be able to find a Tecumseh engine, the factory jack shaft, the factory. This thing actually had a brake on the jack shaft, like a band brake, and that's how it braked the rear. So we're going to have to come up with something else for that. I'm not going to be able to find a tank. I'm not going to be able to find all the parts for this. There's no way. I don't want to try. I already looked on the online. There's like a couple of whole ones for sale on eBay for a lot of money. But parts are non-existent. So pretty much when you have these, like, you try to find a couple of them and make a good one, but that's not going to happen here. So what I have to do in order for this engine to fit better is I'm going to have to cut off this tab here and then this tab over here because they're both getting in the way of the engine sliding back and forth. So we're just going to have to go ahead and nip those off, smooth that off, or smooth off the frame, and then we can stick our engine in here and then our torque converter and see if we can make everything line up. It might be an issue. We'll see. I'm hoping it's not. I'm hoping everything works out, but this has got kind of like an extra wide rear end and an extra wide swing arm and tire, so that might cause problems with lining up the sprocket. The other thing is that sprocket that's on here is a 40 or 41 chain. and the things that we're getting is we usually run 420 chain. So I have this 420 sprocket that we're going to end up putting on here. This is a 60 tooth. Right now it's got like a 64, I believe, on there. So this will be a slightly more top speed, a little bit less. That's perfect though. I mean, 64 is a pretty big sprocket. So, and then with an 18-inch tall tire, because normally on my mini bikes I run, like if I'm running a regular torque converter, I'll run this 60 tooth sprocket, and we have like 20-inch or 19-inch tires. This has got an 18-inch tire on it, so it won't have quite the top speed as the other mini bikes, but we're gonna end up running this 60 tooth sprocket on here so that our chain will fit properly. What else? What else? Trying to think. That's pretty much it for now. I'm gonna go ahead and lop these guys off, clean it up, and then we'll slide the engine in there. Alright, so our torque converter came. That's our extra torque converter plate. We got the cover, got the belt. Alright, torque converter. So I can tell you right now we're running into an issue where the bottom of the plate is running into the foot peg there. So we can cut the bottom of the plate off, which I don't know, I don't think we have, now that I'm looking at it, I don't think we have the room to do that. This is really throwing a wrench in my plans here. Okay, so eventually, you know, in the future, I need to get some aluminum, and I want to build a tank for this, rebuild the tank, or put some other tank on it. But right now, you know, I want to run it as it is, but if I raise this engine up to accommodate the torque converter, I can't, there's no way, I'm not going to be able to get the gas cap off and get fuel in it. So I actually have an engine plate over there, and I'm going to go grab that, and we're going to mock it up under here and see if we can run it that way. If not, we might just have to go ahead and pull the tank off for right now and mount it here temporarily to get us going. But let's do that. I'm gonna go get that engine plate, because I was thinking originally that I would just cut because sometimes you can just cut the plate here, but it's gonna run into this foot peg. That's gonna be the main issue. So if the foot peg was up here, then it wouldn't be an issue, but it's not. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna raise the engine. Alright, so we got this tab 2 riser plate. You can get these, I think this came from Go Power Sports. It might have come from somewhere else. Or maybe this is an OMB. I think this was from OMB, oldminibikes.com. And actually it's a pretty cool riser plate. They kind of had some spot welds when they first came, and we had a couple people break them. Or a couple of them break, so this one's been welded all the way across here. I did that. But then, so this was on my buddy Vince's bike that we swapped to a 301. So I'm going to repurpose this for this guy. I need to go find some hardware for this, and then I'll get back to you guys. Alright, I'm really striking out on this. I like the height where this places the engine. It seems good, but the exhaust isn't going to fit anymore. The intake isn't going to fit anymore. So both of those have to come off. So we're going to have to fabricate. This is turning into a much bigger project, which is fine. I was going to do it eventually. I just kind of wanted to get it going ride it, be able to ride it, and then upgrade it as we went. So that's fine. Let's go ahead and whip the exhaust and the intake off of this, and then we'll keep on trucking and see if we can get this thing to actually fit in here. It's funny because there's a ton of room, but the torque converter is really what's causing this problem. So if we wanted to run a clutch, I think we could just run it flat down on here, put the clutch on, and run a chain back there. But that's not. It's not what we're doing. We're gonna run the torque converter. Engine plate looks good, and I'm thinking that things are gonna line up okay. So let's go ahead and, like I said, get this exhaust and this intake off of here. All right, so we got the engine mounted. It's tightened down. We got the torque converter on here, and I think we're just gonna pull. We're gonna pull this back pulley because it's gonna make it easier to get the sprockets lined up. So, but before we can do that, we need to pull this rear wheel, and we need to get that other 62 sprocket mounted up. The issue is that I think that the 40 chain or whatever this is, you can see this, you can't see because you're not right next to it, but I'll show you guys later. The sprocket is way wider on this guy. Okay, so come to find out, the hole diameter here, this one is probably a 1/16 off, maybe. So we got to bore that out, and then I'm gonna have to find a nice spot in here where I can re-drill this, and it's not gonna run into other issues or run into the other holes, basically. But you can see here the difference in the thickness of these two. This one, I believe this is 40 chain, and man, it is quite a bit thicker. It's got to be, I don't know, 1/16 or an 1/8, probably like an 1/8 thicker. So I'm not sure about like the pitch of the teeth. Let's see if we can see any difference, because you could almost, if I had a lathe that I could turn this on, yeah, the teeth look the same. If I had a lathe that I could turn this on, basically I think you could just turn this down where the chain rides, and then run a 420 chain. But you know, it's not in perfect condition anyways. It's getting a little shark toothed. This one's in decent condition. Yeah, this one's in good condition. It's been run. I've put some miles on it, but it's still in good shape. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna use a die grinder. I'm gonna try and mark it so I can get this as even as possible. We just die grind this until it fits perfectly over the wheel, and then we'll mark our holes, get it drilled. We'll get this on there, start getting the chain lined up, blah bitty blah bitty blah. Keep moving forward here. All right, so we're basically kind of at a standstill at this point. We got the chain on, we've got the torque converter all set up, everything is lined up. I'm really happy with that. I had to do a very small trim on the fender, just get a little bit of room for that chain. I think this is going to turn out awesome, but the problem now is that because I couldn't run the stock intake or the stock exhaust, I have to get a filter adapter, and what else do I have to get? I need to get a filter adapter, and I need to get some exhaust parts, because I got to figure out what kind of exhaust is going to fit in here, how I'm going to run it, and then we'll get back to this, but that's going to be, you know, a couple days, so hopefully not too long. The next thing I'm going to work on is I'm going to take this throttle. I'm hoping that this throttle will be okay. It feels a little weird. It's just doing this weird snapping thing. There's no actual cable coming out of here, so I don't know. Right now it is long enough to work. We'll have to cut it down because of the cable, or maybe we have a cable over there we can thread in here or something, but I got to get this throttle situation figured out. I got to get that front brake ironed out to make sure that it actually works, because right now, well, actually it doesn't even feel bad right now. It might actually work. Yeah, front brake actually does work. Okay, so we'll make sure that that's all ironed out and good. We need to put some cable ties or something. This cable is a little bit long for that front brake. I don't know. So we do have a couple things to work on, but I need to focus on getting those parts ordered, and then we'll work on getting that throttle set up, and I'll let you guys know what I do with that and if I find anything interesting. All right, so I'm at a stopping point now. I did a few things, like I tightened up this brake cable. I cut some of it off, shortened it because it was way too long. I got the throttle working. I'll show you guys that in a second. What else? I'm starting to figure out what I'm going to do for brake, for the rear brake, and just a bunch of other little things. So here's the throttle. That's it right there. That's full throttle. You see my hand? That's full throttle. So I was able to use the original housing. It's a nice metal housing. Clean things up. I cut off, I guess I already threw the grip away. Oh no, here it is. No, that's not it. I think I already chucked the grip, but the grip was really hard and old, and didn't match this one over here. And this one actually matches this one. And I just had this in my box. This is a stock one from like a Coleman mini bike. They're not the best, but you know, it's works in a pinch here. It's what we have. So we got that figured out. So now we have throttle, we have a chain, we have the torque converter. So literally all we need to actually ride this thing, I mean, it's not going to be done, but all we need to do to ride it is get an intake on there and an exhaust. We're just going to wait until those parts come in, and then we'll check back in with you guys and show you where we are, and hopefully take this thing for a ride pretty soon. Oh, also gas tank, but we're going to take that factory fuel tank, and we're just going to kind of put it on there temporarily, you know, with a bungee cord or something, who knows. But we should be riding this thing soon. All right, so we got our parts from Amazon in, and we've got a header. Here, this is for like a CT 200U or 200U EX. The picture they show is an EX. It goes across the bike. You'll see, or across to the other side and out. But one thing I liked about this was I saw this cool looking muffler. It's kind of like one of those lawnmower mufflers, but kind of an upgrade. I mean, it's stainless. It looks nicer. It just looks like a better construction. It still has the threaded end. It comes with this lock nut, but I don't know if it's necessary. I'm not really sure why. I already threaded this all the way in here, and it'll bottom out. There's enough threads for sure. So I'm not sure why you would need that lock nut. I don't know if maybe it helps keep it on. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to test fit this, and we're going to see how it fits. Test fit it and see how it fits. I guess that's the definition of a test fit. And then we'll get this intake installed as well. All I got basically was real simple. I got basically the cheapest one I could find. I'll put links down below for both of these items. and all the other ones used in this video. So we got, you know, your basic cone filter that has a little bit of an angle to it. That helps on these. And then an adapter with, this is the choke hold down. The exhaust comes with another gasket, and it comes with these Allen head bolts, which I don't think they're necessary to use. I might just use the studs. But one thing I don't like about these exhausts, this one's pretty nice. Like the weld is nice. It's probably done by a machine, but that's fine. I mean, it's pretty nice. They don't do anything in here, so this is kind of like this is a flow restriction, you know, because it's going to run under this edge of this tube. So what I'd usually do when I build most of my own headers, or I'll like take one like this and modify it, which this one's probably going to need a slight modification. So just go in here with die grinder and clean that up and bevel it in. So let's get this thing fit, and we'll see what needs to happen to it. All right, so here we go. That looks really good. That looks good, except for we have interference here, just barely. I mean, it's on there solid. I can't even really pull it away. So basically, I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do, but I'm basically probably just going to cut it right in here somewhere, and then just rotate it. Or, I mean, if this, oh, it's on there pretty good now. If this was out more, it would help, but the pipe here is even touching. I mean, it's on there hardcore. So I think all we have to do is cut the flat part here and then turn the whole thing, and that'll help it. I don't know, it'll help it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm basically going to take this back off. I'm going to cut this here. We're going to rotate it to where it fits, or we'll do whatever we need to make it fit. I think that'll do it. I'm not 100% though. I don't know. We're going to cut it and we're going to make it fit. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to use this basically, clamp the two together, and then I'll have that little gap right there to tack it. I think this will work. We'll see. I forgot to press the play button, but I had it on there and I welded it, and it kind of got stuck to it, so that's okay. It worked. It served its purpose, but now it's junk, so. Alright. Okay, so one thing, we got new exhaust and intake. I didn't get a jet with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drill out the stock jet. I'm just going to go up one size, and then when we actually run it, we'll know, you know, by the way it's running, if it needs more fuel or not. There we go, yep. Okay. Alright, pilot jet, put that back in there. Alright, I'm going to get my drill bits, and we're going to drill this thing out, see what if it even says. I don't think a lot of these say. Okay, so this one does say, okay, 72. We're just going to take our stock size. We're going to find a drill bit that fits, and then we're going to go up a size from there. There we go. We got that drill bit through there. Perfect. There we go. let's just get this put back in here, get it all back together, and then we'll get that exhaust on here once that's done drying. Okay, slide this guy back on here with our linkage. Okay, there we go. That one, and then this gasket. Okay, and then I want to show you guys our adapter. So they have these choke hold downs for the choke arm, speaking of, which is right here. That goes on there, that operates your choke. That's open, closed. This one's really sticky. I want to put some Loctite in that because this thing will work its way off. Well, that's a lot of Loctite. That is a lot of Loctite. Alright, so then this guy goes on there like this. It's got a slot on it, so it doesn't really tell you 100% where it wants to live. So I'm going to tighten it up pretty good, and then we should be able to push it on there and get it lined up. Yeah, just like that. So now once you have your nuts on there, your choke can operate and it can't pop off when you're riding. So one thing I wanted to address was both of these pegs are different. Like, this is a nice big cushy one on this side. The other side's kind of crummier. Let me grab that for you guys real quick and show you. Alright, so here's what we got going on. We got two different pegs, foot pegs. I think that these are the original ones here. This one looks like something off a motorcycle. And this mount is different. Two mounts are different. So what I'm going to do though... Oh jeez, I'm going to put these away before I knock those all over the place. So what I'm going to do though, I have these old Harley Davidson pegs. I can't remember what they came off of. They might have come off my wife's Sportster. They might have come off of one of my Wide Glide. I don't know. Or I might have just got them at a swap meet. But these are a matching set. They're a little bit longer. On that side, especially, look at that. Because of the torque converter, you know, you're covering up some of this peg here. It comes like right, torque converter comes up right to the edge of this. So you don't have a lot left. So look at the length that we're going to gain by putting that on there. This one, yeah, this one's slightly longer too. But so they're going to be matching. This one's got a weird mount, a weird pin in it. I'm not sure if that pin's going to come out. Oh, look at that. That's got like a spring built into it. That's nice. This one, I don't know. It doesn't really matter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get these swapped out. I might have to drill out the pin or something, but I'm going to get that figured out. It's pretty boring stuff. And then we're going to get these remounted, so then we'll have a matching set of pegs on here. Just happen to be Harley Davidson. And then once that exhaust is dry, we'll get that on there. And then we're getting real close to being able to ride this. We got to get this tank strapped down. We got to get a fuel line run to the carb. And then we'll be ready to rip here pretty soon. Alright, so we got our pegs on, we got our intake, we got our exhaust. Let me show you the other side. We ended up using those Allen head bolts there. Those are fancy, so we got good clearance under the seat. I think this will be nice. I'm hoping it's that it's quieter than the traditional style muffler, just a little bit. But let's see, what else do we have? I got to get this gas tank strapped down. I got to run a fuel line, and then I think that's it. I think it's ready to ride. All we have is front brakes right now, so I got to clean up all this junk, get that gas tank strapped down like I just said, and I'll get back with you when this thing is ready to actually ride. Okay, I think we're ready to start this thing. I haven't tried it yet. We got this tank pretty well secured on there. Temporary fuel line here. I have not tried to start it, so let's see how many pulls it takes. Is that choke on or off? I can never remember which way is choke on. That's choke on. Alright, it's running. We're missing the stud on the back of the seat, which shouldn't be a huge deal once we're sitting on it, but let's tighten up the actual one stud that we have. Let's try to tighten that up. So we don't, at least we don't lose the hardware, hopefully. I think we're ready. This thing is fairly quiet with that muffler on there, actually. I'm not shocked, but it's not bad. If it's a little bit too quiet, I can always just pop a hole through that baffle, and then it'll basically be straight through, but it'll still have the packing and the sound stuff in there to deaden the sound a little bit. But yeah, let's take this thing for a ride, see what happens. Alright, that chain is rubbing, so we're going to make a couple of adjustments here and do a little more fender trimming. Alright, so one thing is happening here is the chain, once the suspension compresses, the chain gets into the fender right here. And then number two, the suspension is compressing probably a little too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move this shock hole to here, which I believe will make it a little bit stiffer and maybe bring the swing arm up. But the way they have this bracket designed here, I don't know if it really adjusts the angle of the swing arm as much as it just adjusts the spring rate. Because if it was straight across like this, the further you move it back, the more it would move down. But because they have it at this angle, you know, it's doing some things. So that's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna move shock mount to here. We're gonna clearance this fender more, and then we're gonna try this all again. Alright, we still have a slight rub every once in a while in that chain, so we're gonna go ahead and try and take care of that. Front brake stops and it sticks. much for brakes. Wow, okay, that was fun. This front fender is rattling. Okay, we got to get that tightened up. Other than that, let's see. Oh yeah, that's not bad. Thought that might be rubbing harder than that. No, it's feeling pretty good. Chain might be a smidge on the too tight side. You can see the chain starting to rub a little bit right here, so I'm actually going to space this rotor out just a smidge, like one washer behind each bolt. That'll help with that. What else? I don't know. It feels pretty good. It's definitely got a ways to go. That fuel tank is very temporary. I didn't feel anything weird, didn't feel any surging or anything, so I think we might be okay on the jetting. I gotta ride it some more, but it needs some work. You know, that front brake is super sketchy, just having that brake. So we need to get a rear brake on it. We need to do some things. We need to get an actual fuel tank. There's gotta be some stuff done. So this is just, you know, phase one of this build. So you guys are going to see this again real soon. We're going to do some more. We're going to make this a lot better than it is. It's pretty sweet. I like it a lot. It rides really nice. It's a very comfortable position with those goofy high bars. The seating position is good. That's one of the things we're going to improve is this looks really nice, right? It's thick. It's a nice big seat, but it's all a lie. I mean, the pad, the foam has no actual integrity to it. So when you sit on this, you feel the plywood 100%. So we're gonna have to do something about that seat. We're gonna have to do something maybe about an electrical system, maybe a headlight, a tail light. It's got provisions for a tail light, you know, a gas tank for sure. You know, get everything kind of buttoned up better and check everything out. But so far, so good. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please smash that like button for me. Hit the subscribe, hit the bell if you want to get notified of future videos coming out from DJ's Hot Rod and Fab. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.